The following episode contains discussions around physical and emotional abuse. Please be advised. If you or someone you know is struggling with emotional or physical abuse and is in need of assistance, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or text BEGIN to 88788.
Hello, and welcome to the Power Posse Podcast. I'm Kristin.
I'm Stacie.
And I'm Ann.
And this is the space where women come together to power up, speak truth, and embrace every damn season of life with courage, connection, and a healthy dose of sass.
Yep.
We chat,
We laugh.
We cry.
and we kiss some shit
goodbye.
And we invite you to do it with us right here with your Power Posse.
Every month, we dive into real conversations with amazing women who've had what we lovingly call a spark moment. That catalytic, defining, awakening moment where everything shifted. Maybe it came in a whisper, or maybe it knocked the damn door down.
This is your safe space. No topic is off limits. No emotion is too big or too small. This is where you own your power and find your posse. So let's get into it.
Yay! So today's guest is the kind of woman who doesn't just overcome obstacles, she rewrites the story entirely. Sounds like a perfect guest for us here today.
The Power Posse.
Zhen E Rammelsberg is a published playwright, a proud mom of 4 cats, a mother, grandmother, and passionate Korean adoptee advocate. By day, she serves as the managing director of Playtime Poppy Children's Theater, and beyond that, she's the co-host and creator of Sassy Bitches Productions and the health advocacy podcast Sick and Tired 2.0. She is a creator, an advocate, a community builder, one hell of a cook, and someone who turns lived experience into real impact. Whether she's lifting up others, speaking truth, or making things happen behind the scenes, she brings both heart and grit to everything she does. So, get ready for an honest, inspiring, and energizing conversation, because this one is going to stick with you. Welcome. Welcome.
Well, thanks. That was quite an intro, yeah.
Yes.
Now I got to live up to that.
No, I have no doubt you will.
And there's more.
And there's more, but wait, there's more.
Mm-hmm.
All
That
right,
was
Annie.
only like the tip of the iceberg of all of your awesomeness. So, let's dive in with the spark moment.
Yes.
Do you want to share? I mean, I feel like we all have multiple spark moments,
yes, I
but
have
so you
multiple
can
spark moments.
choose
Yes.
Yeah.
what you would like to share. What is your spark moment, that life-altering wake up and rise moment, transformation, making a change in your life?
Yeah, like you said, there's been many spark moments, but this chapter of my life, I would like to say that my spark moment had to do with coming out of the adoptee fog. So if you're in the adoptee community, that's a very common phrase to say you've come out of the fog. And it started with a book, and of course I don't know, I can't remember what that book was, but it's when you're in the fog, you're kind of in this like. I'll use the word delusion, but delusion because that's how I feel about it. But delusion that everything is wonderful and you're grateful for being adopted, and that's and my adoption is great, and I don't have any trauma from that, right? And then one day there's something that kind of opens your eyes up, and so the start for me. And a lot of other adoptees, we kind of have the same thing. We're like, we thought we were the kind of people that were very good at like taking care of ourselves, and we thought we were, and then all of a sudden some life thing happens, and all of a sudden you have to kind of deal with it. But the thing for me was kind of finding other adoptees just like me, because before, when I was adopted in the 70s, you didn't know if you knew there were other adoptees out there. We didn't have a way to find each other unless your parents were going to be really good about making sure that you got together with these other ones. But even as a kid, most of the people that I talked to that did get together with them, they were like, we wanted to be quote unquote normal. We wanted to be considered just part of this family, and we didn't really want to hang out with these other kids, right? And then as adults, we start trying to find each other. But the internet really helped with that. And weirdly, the pandemic, because we were all kind of meeting on Zoom.
Yeah, finding each other.
So from all over the world. But before the pandemic happened, I had decided, my husband has been very supportive of me. And he's always like, do you want to ever go to Korea? Do you ever want to find your biological family? And I'd always be like, no, because I was so deep in the fog at that time. I was like, no, I'm fine. I have a great adoptive family, which I did not. And that was also kind of.
Can you tell us about just a real quick summary of your adoption story?
So, like I said, I was adopted in the 70s, and so at that time, and this is kind of shocking to a lot of people, including adoptees, we were not automatically granted citizenship just because we were adopted by Americans. And we were the only country, because we were adopted out to many other countries, but we were the only country that did not grant automatic citizenship. And so you were supposed to wait 2.5 to 3 years, and then you would apply to be naturalized. So I did. My family knew to do that. So it was kind of a big deal. I was adopted when I was 2.5 from Korea. And I was adopted to a white family that had a biological son. And this is funny because it sounds like the same story that I'm kind of telling like when we talk to Congress people to get them to pass this law to grant citizenship to these adoptees. So I was adopted to complete their family because they could not have any more children. And so they wanted to have a daughter. And so they adopted me. And like I said, they had a biological son. And so it's just weird to think that like for 2.5 years, he and I were both part of the same family. Obviously, we thought of ourselves as family, we thought of ourselves as American, and I had different rights than he did. So if I could have been deported at any time, it's just weird to think about. Yeah. If we had both, like, if I hadn't gotten naturalized, like some people didn't know to do that, they automatically thought they were granted citizenship.
Yeah, they wouldn't even know.
If we'd gotten in trouble with the law, he would have served his time, stayed here. I would have served my time and probably gotten deported. It's just a weird thing. But anyway, so it's interesting how different people find out about this, because I have an adoptee friend that she found out when she was going to college. She applied for a federal student loan, and they were like, "You're not a citizen." And so then suddenly she had to. It took her like 11 to 13 years before she could, and she applied several times, and it's several $1,000s, and she finally got her citizenship. So she didn't get to go to college till she was in her 30s. And so, I mean, that's a scary time because she could have. She was like, I couldn't change my job. I could, and then other people, like others of us, are finding out as we've been paying into Social Security. We want to retire, and then you go to retire and find out, you're not actually a citizen, so you can't actually retire. And if you have any kind of ding on your arrest record, you definitely can't apply for citizenship at that point. They could possibly deport you.
Wow.
A lot of people are finding out because you have to get real ID or try to renew your passports now.
Yeah.
Then they'll find out at that time sometimes. So we've been trying to get them to close this loophole, because if you were born before 1983, anybody that was born after that was automatically granted citizenship because of the Child Citizenship Act. So those of us that were born before, we're not. So we're finding out. So yeah. So that's. But I was adopted to a family that at the time when I was living with them, I thought it was wonderful.
And it was a white family.
It was a white family, and it's very very common.
South,
so
East Iowa, right?
So Benton County, so not far from here, 30 miles west of here. So
small town.
Yeah, very small town. I was the only non-white person, and so then it's not like an Asian family moved in; it was me, and so people would like always kind of come up and ask rude questions. It was just kind of interesting that they think it's their right to know your story.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you look like the rest of your family? And in my mind, I was like, I do look like we do look
ask
like a
you
family.
That. Did you know? Did you like realize that you were different?
So it was interesting because my mom had her mom had a son well before she ever married their dad, and so she had given him to her sister, and she had adopted him, and so he was never told until he was an adult, and that was very common back then, and so my mom she was the middle of 3 sisters, and her one sister, who was kind of a little bit of an idiot, and I'm saying it, and she said when she was adopting me, she was like, "Are you going to tell her she's adopted?" And my mom was like, "I know why she said that," but she was like, "I think she'll figure it out." But I think it was more from that place of like, are you? And but she did, but they did openly talk about my adoption. She did a really good job of keeping all of my documentation, which is amazing, because a lot of people don't have that now, because Korea has moved all of our records to one holding facility, and then they've lost a lot of they've had servers that have caught on fire, so they've lost a lot of our records.
So those records aren't there.
So I do have some stuff, but yeah, it's scary for us because, anyway.
And you said because you're in this fog, right? You were describing the fog.
Yeah.
So what is that like in the fog, and then the spark moment out of the fog, like for your identity?
Yeah. So I, as an adult, I had started to kind of realize things that had been happening that I had suppressed when I was a child. And so I openly tell people now, because I'm not ashamed of it anymore, because I'm not the asshole in this story.
That's
But
great.
so I don't call him my brother, but their biological son abused me in every way that you could be abused by a person. And when I talked to my parents about it, of course I was a child, and my biggest fear was getting in trouble, because I thought I had done something wrong. And so I was a child, so I was downplaying it because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I didn't have the verbiage of understanding what was happening to me when I'm explaining it to them. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. They should have understood, like, this is a bad situation. So, so when I told them what was happening, it wasn't like they didn't believe me, but instead of like doing what our family normally did, which was talk about everything, it was just kind of shoved under the rug. As far as I was concerned, we never talked about it. I was never left alone with him again. Yeah. And then I just went on my, I think I kind of just forgot about it. I just suppressed it. We never talked about it. And then one day when this was kind of early on in my relationship with my current husband, but he wasn't my husband at that time. We were driving home from, I think, visiting his parents. He also lived in Benton County, but in a different town. He's from south of 30, and I'm from north of 30, is where we always give each other a hard time. Yeah. But we were driving home, and it was night, and this song came on the radio, and it was a Captain and Tennille song. So
oh my gosh, I love it.
I know.
Captain and Tennille.
Captain and Tennille. And then I was sitting there listening to the song, and then my brain started wandering back to like, oh my gosh, I had this album. And then I remembered how I'd gotten this album. And it was because my brother bribed me with this album because he had this record collection. Wow. And so I got this record, and I would play it, and I didn't think about like where this record had come from. And I remember sitting there thinking, I have to tell this person that I'm in the car with this memory, and this could change everything.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I remembered like all this stuff that had happened to me. Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my God, he's not going to want anything to do with me.
Yeah. How is he going to receive it?
He's going to think I'm a disgusting, dirty person. And I looked over at him, and he had this look of compassion on his face. And it wasn't disgust. And I knew that this was the person I was going to end up with, that I was going to marry.
That's beautiful.
But and the ironic thing is they were in the same graduating class. They weren't friends, but they knew each other. Yeah. But my spark moment was I was starting to have my relationship with my adoptive family was beginning to unravel at that point, because I was remembering things, and when I would kind of bring them up to them, they would just kind of be like, "Oh, that was so long ago," and blah blah blah. You should be over it by now, and blah blah blah, and.
I've had that experience. Have you had that experience too, with family or with?
And I started realizing that some of the ways that they thought discipline should be, they were teachers, and the way that they thought discipline should be, I realized it was emotional and mental and sometimes physical abuse. And when you don't, that's your reality, and you don't realize that that's not correct, because that's how you were raised. You don't have anything else to compare it to. I always thought
that it's everyone's reality.
Yeah, and I assumed that it was okay, because I was fine, right? And so I remember. So this is kind of one of those moments is when. So it was my son's senior year of high school, And my mom had always been the person that had taken me to theater, and she'd always come to my band concerts and my dance recitals and all the stuff. And they had started like wintering down south. And so then we're gone like for several months of the year during the school year. And I remember saying, you have never come to one of Jordan's concerts ever. And he's been playing music since he's like been in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Yeah.
The other grandparents, who had been my husband's family, and his grandpa, who ended up living to be 102, so speaking of people over 100, they would come to his stuff all the time. And they had other grandkids, and they would go to all their stuff, right? And I said, you've never been to one of them. I don't understand this. You guys are retired. You have nothing better to do, really. And so I told him, these are the last 3 concerts that he has. You pick whichever ones you want to come to, and I don't care.
Yes.
So they came to this marching band thing that was in October. And, of course, that day it decided to snow. And I said...
In October.
And I said, you could have come to the one that's inside, but whatever. So my husband is literally videoing Jordan's marching band as they're, like, coming onto the field, doing their performance, and then they march off the field, right? He's still recording them. My parents have gotten up and they're already walking across the parking lot really fast. And so I'm like running after him. And I'm like, Robert, we gotta go. And he's like, what? I'm trying to record. And he's like, what's happening? And so then I'm like running. And then all of a sudden I just stopped, like dead stop. And I realize I am chasing after these assholes. And there's no payoff at the end of this. Why am I chasing these people? Because they should want to spend time with me and want to spend time with their grandson.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why the heck? So I literally stopped in that moment and I was like, I'm not chasing these people anymore. In life and physically right now, I'm not doing it.
That's powerful.
And my husband, who does not like to confront people, ran after them and he stopped them and he was like, I don't understand why. He goes, why you would do this? He goes, Jenny's an amazing person. You know that. You raised her. And he goes, and why would you not want to see your grandson? He goes, this is just ridiculous. And so then so we kind of joke with each other because my mom, because at the time we called him Bob instead of Robert, but she was like, thanks, Bob. Thanks. Like it was, his fault
response, the
for
reaction.
making her feel bad.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, her apologies to me would have the word I'm sorry in them, but we're like, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's not an
that
apology.
kind of-
Not an apology.
And I'd say that to
not a
her.
real-
I'd say, like, just because it has the word sorry in it doesn't make it an apology, but okay.
It's like
Yeah.
the I'm sorry, but
yeah, I'm sorry you feel
it's
that
not
way.
an apology.
So that was kind of one of my major spark moments of
It's
like,
very brave.
like that. You know what? You have a voice and it's okay for you to feel how you feel and speak
Yes.
up. And so, and to stop. And I even said this last weekend, my husband and I went back to our hometown because one of the teachers that my parents were teachers. And so one of the teachers that we knew had died. And so as we're sitting there, and people asked us several times, why don't you ever come back for the class reunions? And we're like, and I finally said, I stopped trying to get comfort from people that just because it's familiar, but not necessarily good for me. Because,
That is
you
so
spend a lot of
great.
time
That's
with these
healthy.
people in the early parts of your life. Like a lot of them
Yeah.
were preschool on for us because, it's this small school district. And so I said I had to break that cycle because I would keep going back to my family thinking I would get comfort from
they're
them
family.
because they're family.
They're family.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but what does that mean?
That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
because they're family and then and they're familiar and so I would try to get comfort from them and it never panned out. And the same thing with these people from school because just because there's a familiarity there, I would go back to that because it was familiar and I knew it, but it was not necessarily good for me.
And that's
doesn't-
how abuse gets normalized.
Oh, 100%.
That's exactly how it gets normalized because you are brought up to think, well, it must be me, right? So I have to. If I try hard enough,
Oh, yeah.
or if I do this,
yeah.
then they'll like me, they'll love me, they'll.
Oh,
and
yeah. I'll
that's-
change this if I do this.
Yeah, and you can't because you're not the problem.
I'm not the problem, 100%. And that's
Yeah.
that was the thing. But then you're made when I had to estrange myself from the family because I made the decision in that moment when I stopped in that parking lot that I was going to take care of my family and myself.
Then you're the bad person.
Yeah, so I'm the bad person.
You made healthy boundaries.
And then they got the last shot at me when my mom died last year. Kurt, their son, told everyone to not tell me that she had died, which is already one thing.
It's just horrible.
And then one of my cousins took pity on me. She said he didn't actually tell us. We found out in a roundabout way. So she called me. She says, you need to know your mom died. And then when I looked up the obit, he had purposely omitted me as the daughter in the obit. So because that was one last shot across the bow that he thought he could do. So
Painful. Trying to inflict pain. Actually,
100%.
Yeah.
But he didn't know I had already had a game plan that when my mom died, that I was not going to go to the funeral. And I highly recommend this to anyone, even if you have a great relationship with your family, to request a private time to say goodbye because you can literally just be there by yourself saying goodbye to this person without the distraction of everyone else trying to, put their hands on you and tell you like, oh, I'm sorry. Like literally it's the best way to do it. But yeah, I had my husband there, his parents came down, and then my son, and we all said goodbye to her, and they did allow us to do that, which I've found out probably was because the funeral director took kindly to me. That's all I'm going to say. Because there was Kurt had a legal document and he used it incorrectly, but technically if you interpret it the way he did, he could keep anybody away from the funeral, but that's not usually what they're for.
Was that hard for you to go to the funeral still? Like even to go and say goodbye? Like what did that feel like for you?
I think it actually was a good way to say to end that chapter.
Some closure.
Yeah. So it would have been harder, I think, knowing if I would have had to be there with the family.
All the social stuff.
So this was actually
all the fake
better.
stuff.
and
the fakeness.
Same thing with like when my dad had died before. I had mourned that loss so many years before that it actually was. And I actually went to that funeral just to be there with my mother.
Yeah.
But I had told her years prior that to her death that I was like, I will have everything in line that you're going to do for your funeral because I will not be at your funeral because my mom had always taught me that funerals are for the living, not the dead.
Yeah.
And I
I
said,
agree.
you were there at Dad's to keep a buffer between me and Kurt. And I said, there will be no buffer and I will not. The only thing that maybe would have made me change my mind is if Jordan had wanted to go, my son had wanted to go to the funeral, I would have gone to be his support. But so that's weird to think that like I would put myself in a position that's probably not healthy for me for him. But people pleasing is a trauma response, right?
Also,
and I'm so good at it.
Well, but you're learning.
Yeah,
right?
I am.
You're learning and growing through that.
I
and
am.
also your mom. I mean, we're all moms. So we would do that too.
I mean, I can remember the day that I met my mom because I was 2.5. And it's not that I remember that day, but I remember. So here's a weird thought. So like, so in Korea, the adoption is so common there that they would give businessmen discounts on the airlines if they would sponsor a child and bring them over here. So there was a lot of airplanes that had a lot of children on them.
Yes.
And so think about it. You're being handed to a stranger and then that stranger is handing you to another stranger that's
Like you
suddenly
said,
your mom.
trauma.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so,
Real.
so
Very real.
I, and I'm part of an Adoptee Voices writing group, so I've written a lot about this, and so then that I kind of work that out with that stuff. But I can remember being handed to her and instantly feeling loved and safe and falling in love with somebody for the first time in my life. So I knew what that felt like. So, but that moment, because of that, changed everything from their son's perspective because he had been their only child for 8 years.
He'd been the attention. Yeah.
Right. It changed.
And so
The dynamics.
my whole dynamic of life was him and my dad being super jealous of my relationship with my mother and trying anything they could to drive a wedge in that.
Yep.
And eventually they did.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And I also realized I held on to my relationship with her way longer than I should have, past when it was healthy for me because I had that emotional attachment to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm trying to recreate that, and that's not what's happening. I'm not getting that back.
Yep.
I'm not getting what I need.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was going to ask you through your process though, because it sounds like in all of your sharing, like you've really worked. You've been doing the work, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And have you gone to therapy? Is that part of how you've done it? I mean, obviously your writing group,
Right,
you
yeah.
said, was part of it.
Storytelling and-
Storytelling.
So what
Your
does
adoptees groups.
Yeah, so what helps a lot is all of that. And
Yeah.
I have a really great support system with my husband and my son as well, but
It's your posse.
it is my posse.
Your ride or die.
My writer does for sure. But yes, and I always joke because when we do the Adoptee Voices writing group, and that's not necessarily Korean adoptees. It's just adoptees. It's only run by adoptees, and only adoptees can be part of it. So a lot of them are domestic adoptees. So a lot of them are adoptees from America. And so what's interesting is there'll be a few Korean adoptees in there, but it's actually lovely because I'm in so many Korean adoptee spaces that after a while it gets exhausting. And so then this is kind of a new perspective because then you hear about these people that because of DNA they found out they were adopted. Like they were adults. Wow. So they're called like late discovery adoptees. Like they had no idea.
Wow.
That they were ever adopted, and then they would just take like 23andMe to see like, hey, what's my, am I Italian or am I whatever, and then they'll find out, and then somebody will contact them and be like, okay, this is showing that like you and I are sisters, and then they'll ask their parents like, hey, and they'll be like, and sometimes some of them will deny it even at that point.
I believe that.
And so then they talk about that trauma, or they'll find out their relatives knew but never told them. And so that thing of like, are you going to tell her it's coming back? Right. Yeah. But that so the first day of the cohort, we go around and we introduce ourselves. So we meet online because we're from all over.
And that's what you said. Like we talk about the internet, but these are like great.
Oh yeah.
Things that have
I
happened
think about
because of.
I think of like if the internet, we would not be able to do this because where I'm living, I'm not anywhere near any other adoptees really. I have to drive at least 4.5 hours or sometimes 2.5 hours to see other adoptees.
Yeah,
and so
to connect.
Yeah. So the first day of the cohort, you just kind of go around and say like who you are and how long you've been doing this cohort, these cohorts. And so, and my joke is kind of, it's a joke, but it's actually true. I say it's cheaper than therapy and it keeps me from killing someone, but it really is true because
it's a quote right
it's
there.
a quote right there. But because I literally, if I didn't have that group, I think a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with, I would not have had an outlet for it. Because yes, I and it took me a while to find a therapist that was understanding because I found one that was an adoptee. She was a Chinese adoptee, a lot younger than I am, and I had a lot of triggering traumatic moments with her. And so I was like, okay, this person is obviously not healthy for me. So then I found the person that I'm with now, and he's fantastic. And I realize how fantastic he is when I realize like how bad, like being with him has made me realize how bad she was. I didn't realize like some of the stuff she was doing was not probably good for anybody. And I'm just like, how are you a therapist? But
that's true. I mean, I feel that is the thing about therapy is it is really difficult. You got to find the right person, right?
Person,
And somebody that knows about, maybe even has expertise in the area that you're focusing on.
And if you're not a good match,
right?
Oh yeah,
it's okay to walk away. But if you're somebody who's never done therapy, and I'm sure we could all. I mean, I know people. I'm sure you guys do too. Who's like, I will never do therapy again because they had such a bad experience. And I'm like, don't give up on that. Like, there's the right person. It's kind of like the people who end up, taking medications as well, then for depression or anxiety, and a lot of times, unfortunately, you have to go through a lot of medications to find one that's finally going to work for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And it takes work. And it's really easy when you're dealing with trauma and all these other things to be like, no. Yeah. I just can't do the work anymore. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, no, I know. And I've been there too where because I talked about that on on the health advocacy podcast about like my serious health issues that I've had. And I've talked to people about when you're exhausted and so much pain, the last thing you can do is advocate for yourself, and that's like what you should be doing.
And it shouldn't be so hard to advocate for yourself.
It shouldn't be so hard. 100%. 100%.
Should not be that hard. It's ridiculous.
So what is something you could share? We talk about like a mantra or something that you would tell others, or actually tell yourself first to keep you going. And like, especially when you're dealing with trauma and coming out of that fog, your identity. What are some things that you would?
So being in the adoptee community, you're with, anybody that's like just newly adopted to anybody that's been around for many, many, many years. And so what's impressive to me is, like some people will be like, oh, Gen Z, they're so, like they don't do anything. They'll come down on them.
Gen Z,
but I love Gen Z, and I'll tell you why. Because they're like where I am now already.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because I have like 50 years of being telling myself and being told you just kind of have to put your head down and just take it, right? And and
we get that.
Yeah. And so then, when I got in my 50s, I got in that like era of like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to piss people off and I'm going to say what I need to say.
Yeah.
But there's that voice in the back of my head. It's like, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that. And because I still have that to get over. Right?
Those voices.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm impressed by like Gen Z. They'll be like, you know what? We don't want to work 40 hours a week at a dead end job and hope that like someday we can get to that magic age where we can just retire and then you're so old or unhealthy that you can't enjoy your life. And they're like, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. We don't want to do that. Why?
They crave the balance.
They do.
They
crave
have a much better work-life balance.
That's what I'm saying. They actually live. People will say it, but actually it's interesting because like I said, I'm such a teacher's kid, people pleaser, that person that I wouldn't realize like in the middle of an interview that it was probably going to be a bad fit for me because I was just trying to be like this. You want to hire me, right? Whether it's healthy for me or not. And I was impressed when my son was like interviewing and he said, I told him I cannot travel. Tell me the truth. Are you going to make me travel a lot because I have a new baby at home? I cannot travel. My wife has to travel with her job and I can't. And so then they asked him like, how many times a year maybe could you travel? And he's like, okay, maybe twice. And he goes, and if you say in this interview, oh, we'll work it out, and then you don't really mean that, he goes, I don't want to find that out.
Yeah.
He goes,
down the road.
He said, tell me the truth. And so then I was like, that's really impressive, son.
Yeah.
So
advocating for self.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
And so then I realized,
need.
why am I not doing that? So I had a slew of interviews before I got the job at that I'm doing now. And I remember at one of them, and they were like, "Oh, this is a great work-life balance." And I realized, and I literally said to them, "I go, is it really truly a work-life balance, or is it more that this is a job and this is an environment that you would be happy to not be doing this other stuff? You're not going to be spending time with your family. You're not going to be you're not going to be doing the things you want to do. But this is a fun environment to do that in." And so then
overwork.
Yeah.
And this is a great environment to overwork
This is
in.
like a fun environment that you're going to spend most of your time at. And I said, be truthful to me because it's not really a work-life balance. It's actually what you're willing to give up your other stuff for.
Yeah.
And spend most of your time doing. And so then of course I didn't get that job, but I also I knew it wouldn't have been a good fit for me if that was truly what I was going to have to do. So So that's my thing is I tell myself all the time, you can speak up for yourself and it's okay.
Yeah,
which is really sad that I have to tell myself that, but I do.
We all do.
But yeah,
absolutely.
And it's okay to have to tell yourself reminders of things.
Yeah.
I mean, you're breaking years of conditioning.
100%.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
I mean, like
Yes.
your kids, I think for them, honestly, and obviously there's a lot of things during COVID that were really hard for kids. But I also think like my daughter had just started college and, her thing was, she's a smart kid, works really hard, but her thing was like, so people are angry that I don't want to take a minimum wage paying job that's designed to keep me in poverty and never allow me to get ahead while the people who own the company make millions of dollars off of me. She's like, no,
I'm not okay with that.
I'm not okay with that. And she's like, I am not the problem. She's like, it doesn't mean that I don't have a work ethic. It doesn't mean I don't want to work hard. But she's like, if my job can't be done in 40 hours, 45 hours in a week, she's like, then that, again, I am not the problem. Then you need to hire more people. Or you need to pay the wage. You need to provide benefits that I can afford. Or you need to pay me a living wage so that I can have benefits. You know, don't dangle these things out there like a carrot. Like, well, we have benefits, but it's an $18,000 deductible, and we're going to start you out on this. You know, and it's just like, no, it's ridiculous.
And how many of us in our generation, our age group, just heard all those things and just said, "Oh,
that's what you're supposed to do."
Especially as women.
Like, well, you need a job.
Women.
It was just like, need a job. So if it's offered, you take it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
But when you're saying it, I was just thinking, as I'm listening to you talking about your daughter, just like and then your story as well, it's self-respect.
100%.
It's like, and advocating for self is like, because I have respect for myself. I understand that I have value.
Yeah.
And like, if this isn't right for me, if it's not healthy, it's not good. And really, why would you want me to do this job either? Right? This is not.
If I'm going to get to the point where I'm just going to rage quit on you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not good for any of us. It's not healthy. So
it's knowing your worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knowing your worth. Absolutely.
Yes. And
having
believing it.
walk
innately, like within yourself,
and truly
not,
believing it. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
knowing you can walk away, that there's always another job, there's school, there's you have options. It's like recognizing and owning your options. Like my daughter was telling me, she just has been going through this issue at work where she has really bad anxiety. So she had tried to get accommodations the year before, but they were like, oh, well, you haven't been here a year. So now she has to start over the whole process and everything. But in the meantime, when she would be struggling with a lot of this, her boss was like, she would be like, I need to leave work early, or I can't come in, whatever. But when she's there, she works 12-hour shifts and she works her little butt off. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And she was okay with not getting paid for that because she's like, I don't have enough PTO saved up. Well, then a person who was higher than her boss was like, well, she can't be taking work off and not getting paid for it. My daughter's like, that makes absolutely no sense for me. So you're not paying me. And when I'm here, I'm doing my work. And what do you mean, like, I'm the problem? And now she's back into advocating again for herself to get the accommodations and everything that she needs. And she said, don't you think that's super weird that literally this woman is bent out of shape at me because I'm taking time off that my boss has okayed and I'm not getting paid for it, but it's still an issue. And I said, that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
but good for her, though, to.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I said. I'm like, if you end up walking away from that, I'm okay with that. Like I want you to be healthy. And for them to be realizing this and recognizing this at that age, oh my gosh, I tell that to people all the time. Like, if you can figure stuff like that out in your 20s, your life is so much better.
It's so much easier.
So much easier.
Because then you're not doing like what we're doing, which is unlearning and
Unlearning.
relearning.
But I'll be Mama Bear, and I will be
100%.
like, and like any of my friends, I will be like, oh, you need to do, But then, will I do that for myself? Not
Absolutely.
always. Not always.
It's harder to do.
We
for
say that all the
ourselves.
time. Why would you tell your friend, don't let somebody talk to you like that?
Yeah.
Leave that relationship. And then you go home and you're like, oh, I'm letting
Well,
somebody
that's
talk
why,
to me like that.
That's why I made the decision to walk away from my family, because I was like, okay, the way that they're treating me, if I knew that my friend was being treated like that by a boyfriend, girlfriend, boss, anybody, I would be like, you need to get away from them. But then I would like let it happen to me because they were my family, and you're supposed to let family. And I was like, they should treat me better then if they're my family.
Yeah, exactly. The people who are your family should not be the people who treat you the worst.
I know and so then I was like, okay, this is telling me right here. Like, this is not good for me.
They should know better.
Absolutely.
And if they can't know better, then you know better for them and for you. And you're like, then I'm done.
Well, and it's interesting because when I would tell people that, they would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And they go, but I hope that someday you guys can, you forgive each other. And I'll be like, and even my mom would say, she would send me cards that would say like, I hope you can learn to forgive me. And I said, I have forgiven you, but forgiveness isn't what you define it as.
Yeah.
She thought forgiveness meant like we go back to like how it was.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
and I said, forgiveness doesn't mean like I'm acquiescing to you necessarily. Forgiveness.
And then you can choose what you want. If you want to have a relationship and what you want the relationship to look like going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to do that. And you're going to advocate for yourself, which is what you have done, which is... It's very inspiring.
Absolutely.
Should we go to our fun questions here?
Oh my gosh.
Are you ready for it?
I guess.
Jen? Who's going to go?
Who
You
wants
go?
to go first?
You go.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Mine is, what is your favorite swear word?
See, and probably everyone says the same thing.
I'm
does.
gonna.
You already
I'm gonna,
said it.
Yeah,
You already used it.
I think
probably,
so.
I mean, it's always the F word. I mean, it's always F word, right?
It is.
Because there's nothing that like just gets the
your
point
point
across
across.
like
Yep.
that word, right? Yeah.
Tone. Like, there's so many. I mean, like, it can
It's
mean
powerful.
so many things.
But I think, and of course, I'm the one that so with when I'm around my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law is always like, "Okay, we're gonna have the talk again about grandparents can't be swearing." And I was like, I feel like you're talking to me, but yeah, because I like using the F word, and I think, and part of it is, I grew up in a household where you weren't allowed to swear at all.
Me too.
And then when I had my son, we tried to stop swearing, and so then you kind of would make up like cheese and rice and things like that,
Yep.
But
Fake
So
swear words.
I still say fake swear words too, but the F word is still my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
As far
awesome.
as with little kids around, these two have heard the story, but I always told my kids that, I say these words. And when you are older, when you're an adult, you can choose whether you're going to say these words or not. Right now, I'm telling you, you're not. And that's just,
and like I said,
and obviously once they got
said
older,
these
you
words.
tell them why.
Well, I said these words around my son, and he actually made the decision for himself that he was not going to use them. So I mean, he grew up in a household where my husband and I were, because my husband would always joke. He goes, this is my wife. She makes sailors blush.
You have a very full and colorful,
Colorful
you're a
vocabulary.
colorful person. I'm a
Colorful,
colorful person,
yes,
and we're also
yes,
our language is
yes,
colorful
very
as well,
colorful.
right? Mine's getting more colorful. I'm working on it. We talked about that before.
Adding more
the
color
spice.
to your life. It's good.
Yeah, it's
All
good.
right. What brings you peace, hope, and joy on days when the world just feels heavy?
So, I mean, I love my cats.
Yes. How many cats do you have?
I have 4 now. So
A cat mom.
So the
You're a
weird thing
cat
was
mom,
we were
yes.
always like, we will never have more than 2 cats, and we did keep to that. And then,
Until you didn't.
well, 2019, a mama cat dropped off 3 babies in our backyard, and so we caught them and TNR'd them. And my husband built this like really ornate cat house for them, and it had camera, and it was like insulated, and it
my
had
gosh.
heated everything.
love it.
And then one of the cats was like, "Hey, this is an okay house, but that house looks better." And so he came in.
I want to live there.
And and so then he cried and cried for his brothers, and so then eventually they all came in, and so which is good because I think during the Durate show of 2020
Yes.
they would have been
They would
gone.
have been dead.
Right.
So at that time we had 5 cats in the house,
I've had 5 cats before.
and
Is that
and then
wild?
we had a cat that died last year because he got the cancer. But we had 2 cats that were on insulin twice a day.
I had a cat that was on insulin too.
So now we have one that's on
Diabetic cat.
insulin. Yeah. So
I love this. Okay, we want to know the names of your cats.
okay,
as
so
well.
the 3 brothers that were outside were named after the Pac-Man ghost because the 2 brothers look alike. So one is Inky because he's white with ink spots on him.
Got it.
And then Blinky looks like Inky, but he has gray spots. And then Clyde is all black. So he's Inky, Blinky, and Clyde.
Oh,
I
that's
love
cool.
it.
And then so we're kind of ornate with our names.
I love that.
And so
You're being creative.
Yeah. So
Original.
our cat that died was Toulouse Tiberius because my husband loved the Aristocats.
the Aristocats.
And so
love that
and then Tiberius is the middle name of James
Yes.
Tiberius
Yes.
Kirk.
Kirk.
Right,
Yeah.
And so actually he's even got more than that. It's because it looked like he had socks. He was a tuxedo cat. So his full name was actually Toulouse Tiberius. No, it's not fucking socks. Rammelsberg. but we call him
amazing.
Toulouse.
So many initials.
And then Pip is my sweet baby. As much as I've loved cats, they never choose me as their human. He has chosen me as a human, which is weird because every cat loves Robert.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this cat does not like Robert. He loves me, and so he's named Pip because my husband used to listen when he was a child to this record that we realize now is racist. But and so in there it was about this person named Pip Perry. It was because it was like Ricky Tikki Timbo, No
Yep.
Sir Rambo.
Yep.
Yeah.
My brother and I listened to that too.
So yes,
on record.
yes,
On a record.
Yes, yeah, on the record. And so his name is Pip Perry Pembo, and then Con, because Con is the mortal enemy of
That's
Kirk.
awesome.
So that is his name.
I love it. That's amazing.
That's really funny.
And the
So,
other thing that brings me joy is hearing my granddaughter giggle.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? Like,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
What's your granddaughter's name?
Jasmine Naughty. So she was named Jasmine because my son always knew that he wanted a daughter because his favorite movie was Aladdin.
Aladdin.
And
Love it.
if he had a daughter, her name would be
Jasmine.
Jasmine. So
That's a
she
pretty
is now
name.
starting to realize who Princess Jasmine is. So when she sees Princess Jasmine, she goes, "That's me!" So she knows who that is.
Look, I have a film already.
Yes.
I'm famous.
And then
About me.
Naughty is a Korean word that means lily.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then our grandson is Soren.
I love
Eugen.
that. Soren
Yes.
is Norwegian.
Yes, but it's because they actually like anime and
Yeah.
they named him after
Yes.
a character that was named Sora.
Oh, I like that.
But they wanted to make it Soren.
Soren's a cool name too.
And then
Yeah.
Eugen because that's the Korean version of Eugene, which is my son's middle name. He was named after my dad's middle name because I knew because I was an unwed mother when I had him, and so I knew because I was being abused. My dad was not happy with me, and so I knew to protect my son. I gave him my dad's middle name, and it worked because he was
Wow.
he really took to my son. But so it's weird that I knew even then that I had to protect him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Mother's
anyway,
love.
I know.
Mom.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. And then our third fun question is, what is your battle cry?
Oh my gosh.
Or like your, like, what are some examples of a battle cry? Like, yes, you can was one
mantra
of mine.
or-
A
Yeah.
mantra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can was one that I'd shared recently. But yeah, something that's kind of like in the morning you say to yourself, get you out of bed, get you going when you're feeling down, when you're driving to work, whatever.
I
Encourages you.
I tell myself like you can do this.
Yeah.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this, and you deserve to do this. But
Ooh, I love
do that.
that
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
And you deserve to do this because that's that worth, knowing
Yeah.
the worthiness
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Because I still, as much as people know me and see me out and seeming to do whatever I want to do, I have to tell myself like
Yeah.
you can do this and you deserve to do this.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
Give yourself that permission. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're empowering yourself,
love
right?
that.
That's
100%,
that battle cry.
100%.
It's like, yes.
And also, fuck it. I do say that a lot too.
That's
Yeah.
a good
Like,
one,
fuck
too.
it. Because I was the person that was like, you have to complete all the tasks, and if you have to do all the stuff for all these people, and then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like
Doesn't get
it's like a
done,
release,
it doesn't
right?
get done.
It's a release.
It's,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it. If it didn't get done today,
That's
it's
right.
okay.
That's
And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And nobody died, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That-
did you die?
But did you die?
But
That
did
was
you
one of our-
die?
yes, that as well. I found the post-it note that has that written
I
on
love
it.
that.
I love it.
I love that.
It's hot
That's
pink.
awesome.
Love it.
But
Did you die? Nope.
Nope.
I did it.
I did
And
it. I did it.
I made it through.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, shall we wrap it up?
I think we should. Is it my part?
That's you.
I don't
You
remember
go,
what
girl.
I'm supposed to say.
Thank you so much.
First of all, yes,
Yes.
thank you for coming on. I run into you all the time, but we've never really gotten to sit down. So this has been so lovely and so fun.
thank
And I
you.
think that you were just incredibly inspirational, and you just gave a lot of really great diblets for people to be thinking about. And I think a lot of people are going to see themselves and hear themselves and recognize themselves in you. And that's really what
Relatable.
this is all about. So thank you for coming
Thank you
on our
for
show
having me
and
do
for
this, yeah.
sharing, a lot of things that a lot of times people don't share that can be hard or personal. And so thank you for going there with us and for trusting us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me beyond this. Yeah.
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 For sure.
Do I have more?
No.
A little bit.
Oh,
you do?
like, what do I normally say at
look.
the end?
Oh, yeah. Here
Oh,
we
yeah.
go.
Oh, I remember that part. So, yes, to our lovely listeners, forgive me, listeners, to you.
Menopause is
Remember,
fun.
Menopause and not eating. Like diabetic brain, when you don't eat, goes like, wait, where am I? Who are you?
Menopause.
Oh, right, 'cause you got your posse here
That's
with
right.
you.
Find your posse. And if you don't have one already, don't worry because we've got you.
Oh.
Yes.
Sure do. And don't forget to subscribe, share this with your friends, check out the show notes for resources, links, and ways to connect. Be sure to leave us a rating or review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you might be listening because it helps more badass women find us.
Yes. This episode was produced by Logan Schultz and Upload Media Group. Thank you, Logan.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can learn more about them at uploadmediagroup.com. And to our listeners, always remember to keep your sparkle and just have courage, right? Yes,
Okay.
you can. You can
Yes,
do it, and
yes.
you deserve
And-
it.
Yeah, nice.
And we can't wait to be with you next time on the
Power Posse Podcast.
Woo!